like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
Okay, so listen to this. Sean Diddy Combs is in the middle of a lawsuit, and it just got a whole lot more complicated.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was this Jane Doe accusing him of some pretty serious stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but she wanted to stay anonymous.
Right.
Well, a judge just said, nope, your name's getting out.
Oh, wow.
And now we know it's Anna Kane.
Okay.
And if that name sounds kind of familiar, yeah, she's the ex-wife of NHL player Evander Kane.
This is, this whole situation is fascinating, isn't it?
Oh, total.
You've got a high-profile celebrity, a serious legal battle, and this question of anonymity in the courts, it's like a Venn diagram of controversy.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally. So, to get everyone up to speed, the lawsuit started with Anna Kane accusing Diddy of some pretty awful things, but she filed it using Jane Doe to protect her identity. And legally speaking, a pseudonym is just a fake name used to keep someone's real name hidden, and it's sometimes allowed in court cases for various reasons like protecting victims.
Right. But in this case, the judge decided that the need for transparency in the legal process outweighed those concerns, and now her name is public.
Yeah.
This brings us to an interesting point about legal strategy. I think Diddy's lawyers might have pushed for this reveal, hoping to use Anna Kane's past controversies to maybe discredit her claims.
Interesting.
It's a tactic that's, well, ethically debatable, but definitely happens.
It makes you think about how the legal system balances protecting alleged victims with ensuring fairness for everyone involved.
Yeah.
There are definitely arguments on both sides.
Absolutely. And it gets even more interesting when you consider Anna Kane's history with her ex-husband, Evander Kane. Remember back in 2021 when their divorce got super messy?
Oh, yeah.
She made accusations against him, too. Domestic violence, sexual assault, and even claimed he was throwing NHL games after betting on them. Talk about a bombshell.
Hold on. So she's accused both her ex and Diddy of serious wrongdoing. Is there a pattern here, or is this just an insane coincidence?
It's definitely something to think about. While we can't jump to conclusions about her motivations, it does make you wonder if there are any connections between these two situations.
So let's break down the accusations against Diddy first. What exactly is Anna Kane alleging?
She's accusing him and some others of gang raping her in a recording studio when she was only 17.
Wow.
This is incredibly serious, and if true, could land Diddy in some very hot water legally.
Whoa, that's heavy. And to add fuel to the fire, Diddy's already facing some other legal trouble, right?
Yeah. Remember that arrest back in September?
Uh-huh.
Well, he was denied bail in that case, which involves charges of sex trafficking and racketeering, basically running a criminal enterprise that exploits people.
Wow.
It's a really complicated legal area. But long story short, he's currently sitting in a federal prison in Brooklyn.
Okay, so we've got this high-profile celebrity facing multiple legal battles, an alleged victim who's now in the spotlight, and a backstory that includes professional hockey and some pretty wild accusations. It's a lot to unpack.
It really is. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we see how fame and power dynamics can collide in the legal system.
Right.
And how difficult it can be to navigate these situations fairly.
And remember what Anna Kane said in her statement about wanting to remain anonymous? I'm quoting here. I had hoped to use a pseudonym in pursuing justice for what happened to me as a teenager. Defendants' demand that I use my name was an attempt to intimidate me, but I am not intimidated. I am prepared to proceed and hold accountable those who have harmed me.
Yeah.
It's a powerful statement.
Absolutely. Imagine going through something like this and then having to fight for your right to privacy while seeking justice. It just highlights the emotional toll these situations can take on alleged victims, especially when it involves such sensitive and personal experiences.
It definitely adds another layer to this already messy situation. But before we dive deeper into Anna Kane's accusations against Evander Kane, let's take a step back for a second. It's easy to get caught up in the sensationalism of this case, but at its core, this is about people's lives, the accused and the alleged victim.
You're right. It's not just a celebrity gossip piece. It's a reminder that there are real people involved, and the consequences of this lawsuit could be life-altering for everyone involved.
And the fact that Diddy is already facing serious charges makes this even more complicated. It's like we're watching a legal drama unfold in real time.
Exactly. And what's especially fascinating is how the public reacts to these kinds of stories. There's this constant debate about believing alleged victims while also respecting the rights of the accused. It's a delicate balance.
Totally. So before we jump into Anna Kane's previous controversy with Evander Kane, I want to ask you this. Knowing what we know now, How do you think this reveal of her identity could potentially impact the lawsuit against Diddy? Is it a game changer?
That's a great question. And honestly, it's hard to say for sure. It could go either way. On one hand, it could make some people more skeptical of her claims, especially considering the serious nature of the accusations she made against her ex-husband. There's always that risk of being seen as someone who makes these kinds of allegations.
Yeah, that's true. People might start drawing comparisons and wondering if there's a pattern of behavior, but on the flip side, couldn't this also work in her favor?
Absolutely, it could actually bolster her credibility. Some might see her willingness to come forward with these accusations against multiple high-profile figures as a sign of bravery and a commitment to holding powerful people accountable.
It's like a high-stakes gamble legally and reputationally, speaking of gambles. Let's talk about those accusations against Evander Kane. You mentioned she claimed he was throwing NHL games after betting on them. What exactly happened there?
So in 2021, during their very public and contentious divorce, Anna Kane made a number of serious allegations against her then-husband. She accused him of domestic violence and sexual assault, which are obviously very serious in their own right. But what really grabbed the headlines was her claim that Evander was intentionally losing hockey games for financial gain.
Okay, for someone who's not super familiar with hockey, can you break down why that's such a big deal?
Think of it this way. The integrity of professional sports relies on fair play. When athletes intentionally throw games, it undermines the entire system. Fans feel cheated, sponsors pull out, and the league's reputation takes a major hit. It's essentially match fixing, which is illegal and considered one of the worst offenses in the sports world.
So what did the NHL do about these accusations?
They launched a full-blown investigation, which is standard procedure when something this serious comes up. They interviewed people, reviewed evidence, and basically tried to get to the bottom of it. In the end, they concluded that there wasn't enough evidence to support Anna Kane's claims of match fixing.
So he was cleared of those specific allegations.
Yes, but there's an important caveat here. While the NHL didn't find proof that he threw games, Evander Kane did admit to having a gambling problem, and this admission really added fuel to the fire.
I can see how that would raise some eyebrows even if he wasn't intentionally losing games. Having a gambling addiction could put an athlete in a vulnerable position. It creates a potential conflict of interest, right?
It's a slippery slope. The NHL takes gambling very seriously, and for good reason. They have strict rules in place to prevent any appearance of impropriety.
So where does Evander Kane stand now? Is he still playing in the NHL?
That's another interesting twist in this whole saga. He played 77 games last season but hasn't played this season. While we can't speculate on the exact reasons behind his absence, it's worth noting that the controversy surrounding his personal life, including Anna Kane's accusations and his gambling admission, could have played a role.
It's a reminder that even in professional sports where physical prowess is often the focus, personal issues and off-the-field behavior can have a huge impact on an athlete's career.
Absolutely. And this situation also raises questions about the long-term consequences of these kinds of allegations, even when they're not officially proven. The court of public opinion can be just as impactful as any legal ruling.
It's that whole where there's smoke, there's fire mentality. People might always wonder if there's some truth to the accusations, even if there's no concrete evidence.
Precisely. It's a reminder that reputations can be fragile, especially in the age of social media, where information and misinformation spreads like wildfire.
So, circling back to the lawsuit against Diddy, how do you think Anna Kane's past accusations against Evander Kane might influence public perception of this case?
That's a tricky question. It could cut both ways. Some people might be more inclined to believe her, seeing her as someone who's willing to stand up to powerful men. Others might be more skeptical, questioning her motives or wondering if she has a history of making these kinds of accusations.
It's a classic he said, she said scenario, but with the added layers of celebrity wealth and power dynamics. And let's not forget that Diddy's current legal troubles add another layer of complexity. It's like a legal thriller where we're waiting to see how all the plot twists will play out.
It's certainly keeping us on the edge of our seats, and what makes this even more compelling is the question of what will happen next. Will Anna Kane's past accusations against Evander Kane be allowed as evidence in the Diddy case? How will the public react to the unfolding drama?
So many unknowns. It really makes you think about how we as a society process these kinds of situations, especially when they involve high-profile figures. Do we automatically believe the accuser? Do we give the benefit of the doubt to the accused?
It's a constant struggle to find that balance between believing victims and ensuring fairness for everyone involved. And it's important to remember that the legal process is designed to be impartial, focusing on evidence and facts, rather than public opinion.
But let's be real, public opinion can have a huge impact on these cases, regardless of what happens in the courtroom. Reputations can be tarnished, careers can be derailed, and lives can be upended.
You're absolutely right, and that's why it's crucial to approach these situations with a critical eye, considering all sides of the story and resisting the urge to jump to conclusions.
Easier said than done, right? Especially when you've got social media amplifying every rumor and speculation.
It's definitely a challenge, but as we delve deeper into this case, I think it's important for us to keep reminding ourselves and our listeners that this is more than just a celebrity gossip story.
Totally. There are real people at the center of this legal battle, and their lives are hanging in the balance. So as we wrap up our discussion about Anna Kane's past accusations against Evander Kane, let's shift our focus back to the lawsuit against Diddy.
Okay, so let's revisit the timeline of events.
Okay, so let's revisit the timeline here. We've got this lawsuit filed back in, June 2023.
Okay.
With Anna Kane initially using the pseudonym Jane Doe. Then just recently, a judge ruled that her real name must be revealed, bringing a whole new wave of attention to the case.
And it's interesting to consider the timing of this ruling, considering Diddy's other legal troubles. He's currently behind bars, unable to make bail on those separate charges.
Right.
This could potentially influence how things play out in the current lawsuit.
Yeah, definitely. So just to recap, what exactly is Anna Kane alleging happened?
She's claiming that Diddy, along with others, gang raped her back when she was just 17 years old. This allegedly occurred in a recording studio. These are incredibly serious accusations, and if proven true, could have severe legal ramifications for everyone involved.
It's a lot to process, especially considering the added layer of Diddy already being in legal hot water for other serious charges. This situation is like a pressure cooker with so much at stake.
It really is, and it makes you wonder how this will all play out in the court of public opinion. Will people rush to judgment, or will they wait for all the facts to come out before forming an opinion?
It's hard to say. We live in a world where news travels at lightning speed, and social media can amplify both truth and misinformation. It's a breeding ground for speculation and sometimes unfair judgment.
You're right, and in cases like this, it's crucial to remember that everyone involved deserves a fair trial. That means not prejudging the outcome based on headlines or social media chatter.
But let's face it, high-profile cases like this tend to generate a lot of buzz. It's hard to ignore the public's fascination with celebrity scandals and legal dramas.
Absolutely, and this case has all the ingredients for a media frenzy. You've got a famous rapper and businessman facing serious accusations, a woman who's already been in the spotlight for a previous controversy, and a legal system that's trying to navigate a very complex situation.
It's like a real-life soap opera, but with real consequences.
Exactly, and it raises some important questions about how we as a society handle these kinds of situations. How do we ensure fairness for both the accuser and the accused? How do we separate fact from fiction in a world that's saturated with information?
Those are really tough questions, and while we don't have all the answers, I think it's important to keep these questions in mind as we follow this case. It's a reminder that there's often more to the story than what we see on the surface.
Well said. And it's a reminder that we should all strive to be critical thinkers, questioning assumptions and seeking out information from reliable sources before forming our own opinions.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's clear that this is a story with many layers and no easy answers. The lawsuit against Diddy is still unfolding, and there's a lot we don't know yet. But what stands out to me is the human element at the heart of it all. There are real people whose lives have been deeply impacted by these events, and their stories deserve to be heard and respected.
I couldn't agree more. It's easy to get caught up in the legal and procedural aspects of a case like this, but we can't forget the individuals involved, their experiences, their emotions, their struggles. Those are the things that truly matter.
And for our listeners, I want to leave you with this thought as this story continues to unfold. Try to look beyond the headlines and consider the complexities of the situation. Think about the power dynamics at play, the challenges of seeking justice, and the importance of fairness and due process. It's a reminder that even in a world that often feels black and white, there are always shades of gray.
And as always, we'll continue to follow this case closely and bring you updates and insights as they develop.
Until next time, keep diving deep and stay curious.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.